to go in?
Yes.
Okay, I think it's time to start, and this is a man who needs no introduction. This is Dan. Go,
Thank you. That's all we need. Cool, guys. So we're going to have some fun today. We're going to play around with some tools that we have here at MSU. So we're going to kind of create something together instead of just showing you what to do. We're going to look at two things. The first one, I'm just going to kind of show you what it is, and then you guys are free to go explore. It's pretty awesome. And then the second one's a little bit more tool-esque, something that you can use to create some activities for your classes. So the first thing we're going to look at is Kanopy. How many of you have heard of Kanopy before? Just a couple people.
The librarian.
The librarian, right? Of course, Kanopy. So Kanopy is essentially Netflix, but with curated content that's somewhat more thoughtful, is the way they put it, right? Kanopy is something that we have access to here at MSU. Do you know if that's staying around? Is that going away? I've heard rumors, so I don't want to. We've got a backup plan.
It's currently available for your teaching.
Mm-hmm.
What you request may be reviewed to make sure, but I don't think there's a question if you're using it in class.
Okay, so.
What would it not be used? What would be used for not for class?
Well, it has to do with our subscription.
It's a
Short
subscription-based
answer,
thing.
yes, it's available.
Great, so it's still here. If not, the cataloger has access to it, so we can do it two ways. So the Kanopy is kind of like Netflix. We're going to take a look at it here. So if you go to msu.kanopy.com, it will take you into the SSO login screen. So you log in with your MSU information. And basically what this is going to do is give us an interface that looks a little bit like Netflix. So this is a really cool place. I like to watch a lot of documentaries on here. There's the Criterion Collection, so you can get some movies that are older, sometimes harder to find. And then for language teaching specifically, there are a lot of foreign films.
Oh, that's what I was going to
Yeah.
ask you. A lot of foreign languages or just the big ones?
That's always the question, right? So let's go ahead and take a look. So we're gonna go up here to browse, just because this is an easy way to see. You can see this is kind of like Netflix in that you can look what's new, must-see, independent stuff. But we're gonna go over here to browse, and we can see here in the global studies and languages. So there's African, Asian. Obviously, there's always probably going to be more Spanish and French than other things. It's just kind of how it is, but there are a lot of different things on here. So you guys get a pick. What do you guys want to look at today? Quickly. African, Asian, Australian. Who's doing Australian studies? Do I? Did you guys pick one?
ESL.
Ooh, ESL and languages. Great. So here are some. These are even more specific, right? So we can see. You guys can more or less see that? Yeah. So looking at some of the different films here, some of them are in a foreign language, some of them are about them, so a lot of them are in English too. So there's a lot of cultural studies stuff that you can do through here. And there are also films that you can request through here. So I'm going to go back. So the ESL in languages isn't super robust. I just happen to be in Spanish, so I know a lot of these really quickly too. So we see stuff in global studies, Hispanic American, Latin American politics, so there's all kinds of different genres. You can pull things out for your class. We'll just go to one really quickly. And so a couple of the cool things, some of the features that you can do through Kanopy is they have an ability for you to create like a clip, like a playlist. And when they say clip, it's actually the movie. You don't pull little clips out of it. But you can kind of curate that so then you can send students, hey, this is the playlist, you can watch through different things, just so they don't have to go finding things all over the place. So when you'll see with the player here too, so it's kind of like that HTML5, you can slow things down, you can speed things up, you can turn on captions. Unfortunately, through Kanopy, what I've found is that it doesn't always have the subtitled language, so a lot of it is translated in English. So depending on your pedagogy, what your thoughts on how you should use subtitles, if you should use subtitles. I find that to be a feature that's kind of lacking. I like to have the audio and the caption in the language. That helps with students, especially early on, helping to define word boundaries, kind of seeing how that is in real time. So that we can create a clip or a playlist, and then also down here, there is a transcription part too. And again, this follows along with the captions. So if the captions are only in English, the transcript is also only in English too. But a way that students can kind of see this differently, this is good for accessibility also. Many students have issues with that. And that's pretty much what Kanopy is. So I would say everyone use it more than our subscription stays for longer, right? I think there's just a general, people aren't aware that this exists. And so you can play this, you can use iPad, you can use whatever too, so you're not just locked down to the computer on this. Some great films. So right now we have an unlimited, you can play as many videos as you want. There's also a subscription through the East Lansing Library and then Capital Area. Yeah, Capital Area. What they have in their subscription is, I believe you can watch 7 films a month. So their subscription's a little bit more tied down.
I also should say that your students, your MSU enrolled students, can easily get an MSU library card. Or I mean,
The East Lansing, yeah.
East Lansing.
Yeah. So that's what I always tell people to do. Just go grab a library card really quickly and then that unlocks things for them too.
Over a general question,
Mhm.
I think everyone's looking into like, so this is like Netflix, looks like Netflix and stuff, but what makes it, you know, what criteria is followed to even include some of these on the Kanopy website? How, I don't know, you know, how people used it in their language classes just to show a little clip? Or
It's generally easier access to film, so that you can
Easier, okay.
pull into your classroom really quickly and robust. Like you don't have to go to the library and ask for the video and wait for the DVD to come and all these different things. So it's kind of more of a streamlined process.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
On our electronic media page, we do have other film packages,
Mhm.
including documentary, Asian films, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you might also want to have your students take a look there.
Okay, and how do they access that?
lib.msu.edu, electronic resources under quick links, and
Okay.
then media.
Okay. So different packages within the Kanopy system?
No,
This is
just
outside of that, yeah.
Film.
Yeah, so they have access to film in general, basically streaming through the library.
Also for Kanopy, is that would we request a particular film or something to be added to this Kanopy collection, or does Kanopy set standardized?
I don't know the answer to that, but you can always request something, and, you know, and we'll give the work too, in case it's somewhere else. Because it's not the only film subscription.
Yeah, so if there is a specific title, if it's not in here, obviously talking with the librarian is a great way.
Is this all films or are there TV shows or anything like that?
It's mostly all film. I mean, you've got some documentary length. There's also like the master classes too, which are kind of cool. So there's some things that are a little bit more instructional and aren't as narrative based, which is really cool. So if you want to learn photography, you can go through the master class on photography and different things. Again, that might be outside of what you're doing in your language class, but it's kind of a perk, a great resource for us too. Cool, any other questions? So this is, I mean, there's not, I mean, you've got access to films, you can show them, you can stream them. That's kind of the extent of what Kanopy is.
You just get with the login at the top right, doesn't seem, this, for creating playlists and things like that, it looks like that's a separate login from the MSU access.
Yeah, and I haven't figured out, I know when it pops up, so when I try to save through a list, what I've done through MSU, you can actually connect multiple Kanopy accounts. So when I do it, yeah, mine actually shows up, I'm in a private browser right now. So I'm in the MSU Kanopy, but
And
I
what I
can.
just did is I said join with Google, and I used my MSU Google access, my
Mhm.
MSU Google account, and that would
So here you can see under my memberships that I actually have
multiple.
multiple memberships, and you can set the default and switch back and forth. Yeah. Cool. All right, so that is Kanopy. So then the other thing we're going to look at, and this is actually has a lot of stuff to do, and we're going to try to create something together today. We're going to see how this works, is the Kaltura media space. How many of you guys have used the media space before?
How many gigs do
How
I
many
have on
gigs?
media?
Matt, you used, how have you used the media space?
I have used it to have students upload videos they made for class to it.
Okay, so students uploading videos for class?
Students uploading, and I've also used it to, it has a really nice translation, I'm sorry, not translation, transcript feature,
Mhm.
and that's kind of cool. And it can also do transcripts in other languages as well, it's not just English.
Yeah, so this is, yeah, a great tool. So we're going to explore this a little bit and make it a little bit bigger. So media space lets us do a few things. I think the main reason for using this is that you can create like a repository of videos. And this shouldn't replace like your storage of videos, so this isn't like your online Dropbox. It's really built for people to be able to digest that video online. So it will transcode it in different ways that you don't have to worry, hey, does this work on this device and this browser? MediaSpace does all of that for you, which is really cool. And so basically you can add your own media, you can add from YouTube, and we're not actually going to talk about the capture space recording because it's going away. And they're switching to a new, the Kaltura, if I click on it, it'll tell me. So they're phasing out the way that it works, and they're bringing in a new tool that's actually launching during winter break. So we're not going to view that right now. But basically what it does is it lets you create a kind of recording like you're using Camtasia or something on your computer, but within the media space platform. You can also do live events. Again, I think Zoom, for most of our purposes, has kind of replaced that in terms of functionality. And then what we're going to play with later today, and this is kind of the fun part, is that you can embed quizzes into videos. And that's pretty cool. So we're going to look at that. All right, so the media upload is pretty cool. I'm actually going to start over here in my media before we get to some things. So we're going to take a look at this video, but first we're going to... So I just uploaded a video I have, and I'll talk about it in a minute. It's pretty funny. So basically you upload a video, you give it a title, and then MediaSpace will make it ready to publish. You can, and we're going to take a look at the different things that you can do here. So we're going to come down in here into our editor first. So these are all the different options that we have once we upload the media. So obviously we can give a title and a description here. We can set different tags, and then you can also publish it for specific times. So like, hey, I want this to go live with this amount of time, and then kind of disappear. So you can set that restriction on that right from the details. Under options, there is commenting. If you want to have students you can comment on, you can obviously turn that off if you don't want that. And this I've actually found the way that I use MediaSpace, because I help a lot of instructors record their classes, and maybe I pull the media. And so what I do is I upload it into my MediaSpace, and what's really cool is you can actually transfer the ownership of any video to someone else. So I find that's a great way to transfer, especially if I have a big media file, like I recorded an hour in your classroom, I can just upload it, and then I can transfer it so that it's yours and it's no longer mine. You can also add collaborators. So if you're working maybe with other instructors or grad students, you can kind of build some of these things together, which I think is a really cool part of this. So thumbnails, this is like the thing we hate about YouTube, right? You upload a video to YouTube and it usually gives you like 3 thumbnails. And you just hope it's like a good looking picture. So a thumbnail is what shows on the screen for the video, is that it's kind of the picture state. So YouTube uses an algorithm and you just hope it looks really good. Here with MediaSpace, we can go into the generator and find where we want the clip to have the title. We can also take a picture if we want it to be something different there. We can upload other files. Downloads, you can enable videos to be downloaded or not. So either just viewed online or the option to download. So here you're giving, I'm just going to say students probably for our context, right? The ability to be able to download videos. And you're saying what size do you want the source, so whatever you uploaded it as. And then you can also say, hey, this is a large file, a medium file, or a small file. However you want to do that. And then what Matt talked about, and this is a great part, we'll come back to it, the place to order captions is in another menu. But here you can also, this is where you'll take that file that they give you and you can upload it to the video. So this is great. Again, as a teaching tool, as its accessibility and different ways to do that. You can also add attachments, so if you're going to maybe add instructions, like, hey, I want you to watch this video and do all these different things, that can also be a PDF that's with this. That's a little bit small to see. What we can do bigger. The other thing that's really cool with this is you can set a lot of different restrictions to who can view your video and where they can be. And there's actually, Kaltura at any time, they have a really robust help section. It's really detailed. And they have like this big grid that shows all the different things. But basically you can say, hey, anybody in the world can watch this video, I can embed this anywhere. And then you can start restricting things down to at the MSU level. Or hey, this can only be seen through MediaSpace or D2L. So locking down some different places. You have to be in US. So this kind of helps, especially when we're looking at material that could be or possibly dance around the copyright issue, especially if we're uploading media or if you want, or if students put something up there that you don't want to be public. So you can keep things locked down to the MSU domain here. So this is where we talked about, and we don't have to go through this, but basically it creates all these different versions of your files so they can be on the iPad, on your computer, Windows, whatever you've got going on. All the different sizes, not anything you have to really deal with, which is great. It does it all for us automatically. There's a few things we can do with them, but and for some reason they call them flavors. So if you want the source, so you've got the flavor actions here, all the different flavors of the video. You can divide videos up into chapters, so essentially creating like little chapter markers. That way you can upload a longer video, and then people, whoever's watching the video will have the option to navigate by chapter, which is kind of a cool feature. And then we can also embed slides. So we're going to try that too.
I forgot, did you say you can load stuff from YouTube into here?
Public YouTube stuff.
Yeah, well,
You can load in. So that kind of works kind of like the TED Ed stuff, where you can take a YouTube video and kind of make a quiz around it and do some different things. And then we can replace the video, which we're not going to do. All right, so I'm actually going to we'll come back to this video here for a second. I think I got one ready that we can use for the... So when you go to upload a media, we've got drag and drop. We can also just click to open this up. I think I did. I just took 2 really quick little videos I'll show us. So you'll upload it in here. It'll take a minute. This is a very small video for purposes of presentation. All right, we've completed it. I've entitled this one, How to Hammer. I will say User. Here I can, hey, this is private, only I can see it. I'm still working on it. Unlisted, if I give you the link, you can get to it, but you won't be able to search through it at MediaSpace. Or published, it can be found all over the place. All right, so I'll save that. And I will go to media. It will take just a few minutes. This one's really short, so it should go on pretty quickly, just to process all the different flavors, right, that it's working on. And I'm going to show this one so that we can see what it looks like to add the slides to it. And I'll do the quiz with the other video here in a second. This should just take a second. Any questions so far?
Whatever videos you put out, it stays there forever, right? Like, as long as you're in MSU.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the MediaSpace has a disclaimer in terms of backing up your video somewhere else, because they say, hey, if this ever leaves here, you delete this off MediaSpace, or if we lose it, there's no way to get it back. So that disclaimer is on their site pretty explicitly. But yeah, as long as you're here, there you go. Of course, at my house, this went a lot faster.
And you can also be linked to ePlus.
Yeah, so here we can see that under the share button is we have an embed code. So we can embed that through there. We can choose the size that we want, and then also the skin of the player. So the one just has a little bit more of the sharing.
And you can also go in from the other direction also, right?
From
under learning tools in D2L.
Under learning tools at D2L.
You can pull it into D2L.
Yeah. So here, it tells me that my media is ready. Great. Refresh the page to update the information. All right, so we're going to use this. I live in Mexico in the summers, and we build houses. And so a couple of my friends came out, and it was a husband and his wife, and they were having a contest to see who could nail. They had 2 nails, who could do it faster, right? This is a great teaching demonstration, obviously. So what I want to do with this is to show you guys how the slides work. So I'm going to go back into my edit here. And my timeline. So what we can do here is we can create our chapter markers. First, let's just watch the video so we see what's going on. A little slow-mo, right, for dramatic effect. So that's just how I uploaded the video with the slow-mo in that already. So what I'm going to do here is you can see there's the option to create, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, is to create a slide. So here it gives me the option to upload, and I can kind of move this around wherever I want. I think I have one already here to go. All right, so I made this slide here that is where to hold the hammer, right? So I will save that. And what that did is that created a slide. My cursor just happened to be right here on the timeline. So when that time hits, that slide will appear. Now I will say one thing. Once you start adding the slides into the player, it's always going to have the box for the slides. It's just kind of the functionality of this player. So it's not like there's nothing and then all of a sudden a slide appears. So what we'll see here. So if we view this in the player now, we can see that I have this slide that comes up. So if I come back here. Alright, so here you can see what we can do now within the editor once we hit a couple slides in here. And this is kind of a cool functionality. The student or whoever's viewing this video can actually change this part that we're going to show you right now. So right now the video is small and the slide is big. So the option is there to switch this around in different ways. So you can have them side by side, or you can completely get rid of one or the other. And so the student at any time, or whoever's watching this, actually has the ability to change that. So you're not creating like an embedded slide in the video. You're actually having like two videos essentially at once. And then the student has control over how they want to interact with that. So how we set it here is kind of the default, how it starts. And then the student, well, whoever's doing that, has the ability to change that. So we'll say maybe we want a picture and a picture, and we want this slide here. The other cool thing is I can drag this around wherever I want it. And that part will be locked down once the student there. You can also increase the size somewhat. So you can set up kind of basically a PowerPoint that kind of goes along. You could have some cues like, hey, look at this. You think of like the old VH1 pop-up video, right? You can have all these different content. Are we dating ourselves, man?
I'm not dating you.
All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to save a copy. So as soon as you start creating this content where you have slides in there, and we're going to put the quiz in the other one, you actually save a separate copy of the video. So you have a copy that's still just playing just the video, and then it creates another copy, is essentially what you would probably publish out. So, hey, that was a success. So now if I go to my media, I should see two videos. So my how to use a hammer, and it's still rendering the other one. And so this is probably, I would retitle this and say, hey, this is the student version or something. So I retain the original, and then it creates a second clip for the students. We'll let that work. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come in and check out another video, and we're actually going to create a quiz, and I'm going to have you guys kind of help build this. So I'll show you the clip. This is in Mexico. This is actually kind of a funny clip. This is my wife, Sam, and she's teaching some of our friends some English phrases. And I think it's one of the best language learning.
Mucho gusto. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Uh-huh.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Es mucho gusto.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Not mice. Mice.
Mice.
Mice es ratones. Mice.
Nice. Nice ratones.
Nice.
Nice. Zapatos nice.
Nice shoes.
Nice.
Nice shoes. ¿Qué más? A decir adiós. Goodbye. Goodbye. Oh, oh. Mais. Mais. Mais to me.
Yes, there's a tuba just playing in the background. It's kind of stereotypical, right? You get all kinds of cultural clues from this too. But so she's teaching them nice to meet you, and they're saying mice to meet you. And then all of a sudden a mouse runs across the floor, and so that kind of like illustrated the difference between the two. Kind of funny linguistically, so the younger generations in Tijuana where we live say nice, like the American nice. So they said like nice shoes, but they would say like zapatos nice. And they use it for like it's something that's fancy. So she knew the word already, but out of that context it had no meaning until, oh yeah, zapatos nice. So they borrowed the English for that. So what we're going to do is you guys can work in groups. I'm going to show you how this works, and we're going to try to create a little quiz that goes along with this. So here I'm going to launch my editor. You can do a very, very limited, like trimming the video. You can trim or split the clip. You can't do a whole lot other than that. You can also, with the audio, basically you can fade it in and fade it out. It's really about how robust the editor is. So not a lot going on there. But if we click on this little cube up here, it will take us to the quiz. And I'm going to show you the different functionality, and then we'll see what we can do with this. So I'm going to click Start here. Make this a little bigger too.
Dan, if somebody doesn't have Camtasia, what do you recommend them as a video editor?
Windows, Mac, what are we talking?
Let's say Windows, because Mac has one.
Yeah, Mac is easy. Windows is a little bit harder. There is, what is the movie?
Movie Maker.
Movie Maker, yeah, that's what it's called. I use it, so it's-
There's some that are like similar, if you've ever used iMovie, there's one on Windows that's fairly similar to that. It's just one you don't install, Google. It's easy.
Yeah.
I mean, just because as I'm watching this, I'm noticing that you could edit the video in a better editor and set yourself up for a clip and then a logical place to put a slide and then a clip, and then you could do the
Yeah, you can
have a
think
clip and
about
a
that
repeat
before.
assessment.
Yeah.
It would be hard to do that within media space.
Yeah, so it's going to give us the ability to put all those quiz questions wherever we want, but thinking about that beforehand. So I took both of these clips off my phone, and so I was able to edit them even faster just because I had taken it on my phone really quickly and then run them here. So here's what we can do with the quiz. Just like we have with the slides, you can kind of hit a marker. Okay, this is where it starts. This is where the next one comes. So we can drag the playhead marker to a certain place, and then a quiz will show up when they get to that moment, which is kind of cool. And we're going to see a couple different ways that we can interact. So we have multiple choice questions, one correct answer. So it's not multiple select. This is one answer is correct. There is a true false, and then there's also a kind of it's basically an open-ended reflection point, what they call it. So you just kind of stop and think about something. So whereas the slide hits in real time and you keep going, this is going to kind of stop the video and say, okay, hey, maybe let's look at something that's going to come up here soon. Or different ways. So you can kind of use that as kind of like a meta tool to talk about what's happening in the video. I'm going to go to the multiple choice first. All right, so I've got this quiz name. We can call this something. I'll call it Nice to Meet You. A couple of the options that you have is the first one is the welcome page. And what happens is when the student clicks the video for the very first time, it will actually pop up with this message. Hey, you're going to be taking some quiz here. The default is in this video, you'll be given a quiz. Good luck. So you can leave that. You can take it off. If you're getting students started, if you're going to use multiple videos like this, maybe the first one or two you have this, and then they don't need that again. You can allow this, take this off. Students have the ability to download all of the questions beforehand. So if that's something you want, again, obviously depending on what you're using the video for. So these quizzes, I mean, are using this as like a formative assessment, or are you using this as more input and just kind of some guided access to things might determine which way you want to go with that. So they can actually download the list of the questions beforehand. So sometimes it's good to just have those so you know they're coming up. You might decide, hey, I don't want them to have that beforehand. So scores, this is upon their submission, you can say, we're not going to show you what you did, or we will show you. And then you may or may not want to put the answers up there. Again, if it's an assessment tool, that would be something you might not put on there. But if this is more of a general access to learning, then you might want to put that on there so students receive the instant feedback, which is also really helpful depending on how your classes run and their quiz experience that they have. So here we can allow people to change answers. So at the end of the video, it's like, oh, now that you've seen this, do you want to go back and change anything? You also have the ability to lock people down to answering something before they go on or not. So they could actually skip something and come back. So again, a couple different ways to look at that. All right, so I'm just going to leave these on. We'll see how they play out, and then if we don't like them, we can come back. So let's say for the very first, we'll start out our quiz here. What's a question that we might, like if you're looking at this video, that you might ask in the beginning? And you guys can say, no, we want to do a true, false, or reflection from you guys.
What is she trying to teach them?
Okay, so what phrase is she trying to teach them? So the first one will always be the correct one. So that's just the way it's coded. It'll get randomized later. Nice to meet you. Another option?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So then we can go in here and we can add some more too. We'll take those off for now. And you can reorder the ones other than the right answer too. So we will save that. Oh no, empty.
Delete at the bottom. Oh,
So if you click to add a new box, be sure that's what you want. I'm going a little bit faster now. Alright, so we'll save that. I'm going to click done once here, and it's going to create a So now we're coming back to this media. This is not the original file. We see that it's the nice to meet you, and this is the quiz version here. So when I go to click play, so this is that welcome screen. We can see where these options now show up. So in this video, you're going to be given a quiz. Good luck. It's saying all the questions have to be answered, and it will be submitted at the end. So I can then click continue when I'm ready. This is that option to see all of the questions, to download them before you start. So that's where that appears for whoever's going to take this. So continue.
Night.
So this is where my playhead is. So you can see it stops the video, and you're presented with a question. Obviously, I think for us this might be good to, do we want to move it a little bit later? Probably. So we'll do that, and we'll come back and make another one But I just wanted you guys to see how it's looking. It gives us a little bit more. So there's the edit. You can kind of edit all the data about the video, and then you go into the separate editor to do the quiz here. All right, so I've got the nice to meet you. We might want to pull that one. You can also do hints and different things. So again, there's a lot of different things you can do with this. I can drag that and then move that to somewhere else.
Maíz es ratones. Maíz. Maíz son ratones.
Hang on, I didn't save my. So I can see in the editor here how things are going.
Nice. Nice. Zapatos nice. Nice shoe.
So I can move that around. All right, so what's another question that we can do? Let's do like a true false or something.
I was thinking, I didn't realize, I didn't realize the first time that the way that the girl responded is she made the connection with nice, and she's the one who offered the part of nice. And
Yeah.
then your wife tried to translate it as nice shoes, like she didn't.
Yeah.
She didn't recognize the colloquialism immediately.
Yeah, she wasn't as aware of it. Yeah. So many. This is like a great meta-linguistic thing that you can do in all this, right?
I'm critiquing discourse analyses.
Yeah.
So.
So there you go. That kind of threw her off, right? Because she's in the nice to meet you mode. And because then she says, hey, your shoes are nice. And she's like, no, these are my school shoes. Like, those aren't fancy. That wasn't a... All right. So what other place could we put a question in? What do you guys think?
True or false? They see a mouse. They see an actual mouse.
Okay. Where do we want to put that?
Right after they jump.
Right after they jump. Okay, so I think this.
Mice! Mice!
It's maybe about here at that moment. So here we're going to. Come back. There we go. The kids saw a mouse. True or false, right? Maybe come over here and do a reflection point just so you guys can see how this is. What song is the tuba thing? So I'll click done, and then we can now see. So again, we still have the welcome video. We can see here.
Nice.
I can navigate to.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Es mucho gusto. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice.
So we got nice to meet you. Select this.
That was nice. Nice shoes. Nice shoes. Nice shoes. Nice shoes. ¿Qué más? Let's see. Adiós.
Over here. So the kids saw, we'll say they didn't see that.
Nice to meet you.
So again, with the reflection points, you don't have the option to answer. It's kind of that meta recognition. So we'll say. So now that we've completed, we can take a moment to review our answers, or we can submit them.
Mucho gusto.
So reviewing
Nice
takes you
to
all the
meet
way
you.
back to the beginning.
Nice
of the
to
video.
meet you. Uh-huh.
I can click back on that box at any time and then come right back to the completed. So I submitted this, I got 50% to see what I got right, what I got wrong. Again, gives me feedback. All right, got it. Thank you.
Mucho gusto. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
And I have to see if this comes up fast enough. I actually made one of these earlier. So we were using this in one of our 300 level courses to do some stuff. I'm gonna go into here though because I want to see the analytics. And I think the analytics can sometimes take, I think it says 24 hours to refresh, so you might say, hey, I can't see what's going on exactly. But what it's going to do is it will give us the analytics of people who were logged in, obviously, and what their answers were. So this does give us a chance to see what students have done. So I just created another quick one-off thing on this. I can see how many people have visited, the number of plays, the drop-off, how long people are watching. So this is actually kind of good information, maybe even like some of the videos that we have embedded in our courses already. If these analytics aren't available to you, it might be a good idea to throw them into the media space, because then this gives you a little bit more information. Like you can see how long are students actually watching the videos you put up. If you put up a 10-minute video, how many people make it 10 minutes? Sometimes we don't want to see those statistics. So here, there's different channels that you can put stuff in. What we can do is we can see by users how they are interacting with the videos. So I'm the only one who did anything on this. So you can see how many times I played it, how many times I visited the video, plays to visits, my drop-off rate, my view time, and my total view time. So this is really cool because then you can look in and kind of get a really good idea of how students are interacting with the videos.
Where did the quiz grade get recorded?
They over here on, so I can look at quiz questions and then also the quiz users loading. I think what it does is here under the quiz questions. So it's not a robust grade book where you get, hey, they got all these, but you can see, you can obviously export it into an Excel file too. Yeah. So kind of cool, right? So we can embed simple quizzes into the videos. It pauses the video. You can force the students to have to interact with that video. I think I had it on right now as you could skip. So that might be something you want to take off. But something that, it's kind of a tool that is fairly easily accessible for us to create.
It doesn't allow you students to like record a response, right? Like audio record. Does it like at the end, if it's a open-ended question?
Yeah, this is more of the, they even call it a reflection point too. It's not open-ended question. So that's, here's something to think about is essentially what you're telling the students. Or like, hey, pay attention to the transfer here between dice. Like, how do they pick that up?
I'm just thinking about grading, and I'm noticing that my students, when they watch my videos, are shown as unknown. It's not labeling who it was that was watching that, and my videos are embedded from MediaSpace into D2L. So they're logged into D2L when they watch it,
But
as
it's
opposed to
not
being logged
flowing.
directly into MediaSpace. It's not saying who they are
So
when they
it's
watch it.
scrubbing that data.
But I wonder if there was a quiz embedded in it, I wonder if it would handle that differently.
Well, that might.
Or like require them to log in, or
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. That is interesting.
we want to be cautious about creating something with this that's really a weight-bearing grade that maybe just evidence that they went there maybe, but maybe it would.
Yeah, I mean, that's the discussion that we would have pedagogically. How would you use this? Is this an assessment that has a lot of weight to it? I would probably tend towards no, just in my thinking and how I think especially in language classrooms, one of the reasons for video, and especially in this format, is it allows kind of for that individual difference. Like if someone needs to watch the video once, they've got it. The student next to them needs to watch it 10 times, they can watch it 10 times. Right? These are the things that we can't do in class very well. We always have to kind of meet in the middle. So this gives the students a lot more individual attention. I think and for me, I like the immediate feedback. They know if they got this right or wrong versus, okay, we're gonna grade you on this. I think there needs to be some weight there that they kind of are motivated to do it.
I guess to engage more, I mean, one thing we're talking about as well is that when you're using authentic materials, you don't need to get them to understand every single word in a video like that, and that's okay. So something like this that would point out, I want you to notice this, I want you to catch this, I want you to catch this, and the rest of it, it's okay if you don't understand.
Yeah.
And so
It's a lot easier. I kind of like embedding it into the video instead of just here's these instructions like, hey, pay attention to all this. If you're kind of divided there, it stops you and okay, yeah, I can do that. And then even the questions, then if you're focusing on a specific thing, you should really focus on that same thing too. So like, hey, notice this, and then have a question on that later. The other thing I wanted to show you guys before I forget, Matt made mention to this. I wonder what they would do with code switching in a video. Who knows?
You have to set the language ahead of time,
Yeah.
so it would probably.
It would probably
if they were
break apart.
Spanish,
if
you
they're-
said Spanish, it would think their English was Spanish, and
So that might break apart, but if you have one language in the video. So here under actions, you can actually order captions for any of your videos. And you're going to tell them what language that the source is in. And this only happens to work if it's English, German, French, Spanish, Italian, or Dutch. That's the limitation of this if you want the captions in that language.
but you also have, if I remember correctly, you can also create your own SRT file, right? And
Yeah. And upload that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, but do it directly through here, though. I think, right? Can't you do it directly through this?
Yes, the back in the editor. You
Yeah, I
can.
thought so.
So this is the machines somewhere will help work on your video. They'll send it to you. It won't be 100% perfect. It's kind of like the YouTube. It does a really good job, but you will have to go through and spot check it, and it gives you the ability to edit that. So then after you order your captions, I can't remember what the turnaround time is on that. I'm not going to click on it. We can go look at their help page, but then you can actually see your requests when it comes through here. So you can kind of say, hey, this has been done. This is when it's due. It's been completed. And as Matt said, you can actually go in the editor and upload your own caption. So maybe you've captioned it through YouTube or some other source. If you have that caption file, it allows you to upload it here and put it into the video too.
But you also want to go through there, even if you order the captions, you want to go through there and fix the automatic captions.
Yeah. So it'll give you kind of the timing, and then you can fix all the words that it gets just a little bit off. So I would imagine if I told the caption people that this video was in English and they captioned it, they would probably put "nice to meet you" instead of "nice to meet you," because that's what makes sense. So I would have to go through specifically for this video and tweak that a little bit. So like I said, we're going to go, and even here's this Kaltura capture will be available during winter break, and capture space will be decommissioned. So right now there is the ability to create your own recording almost directly through here, kind of doing the screen thing, the webcam. I would would say don't even learn the one that's on there right now because it's going to be gone in the spring. But the new one's coming up and starting in, I think I read it was during winter break. If I click on it, it tells me. Somehow, I'm in incognito. So it just says over winter break it will be released. Basically does the same thing. You can capture the screen, webcam, voice, presentations. It goes in seamlessly into D2L within MediaSpace. So you can do annotations. So it's kind of like Camtasia, a little bit less on the video editing side. Things that you can do here. So a lot. The MediaSpace does a lot of different things. It's a really good resource that we have here in Canada. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So go out and make something fun.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Thank you.
Man,
I want to thank Dan again for coming over and giving us this wonderful presentation. So before you leave, please make sure to fill out those little evaluation sheets. Also, just to let you know, we are open to any ideas that you might have for our PD events for next semester, because we're already starting to plan and see what we can offer that's of interest to many of you that come in every week. And also just a reminder that we have one last PD event next Wednesday for this semester. And after that, we come back in the spring. So thank you so much. Please get some pizza too when you're on your way. Thank you. Maybe you can use that. No, it would be if you upload the recording on this, like if you upload Dan's, recording on the media space. She can edit, right? Like she can,
what's the word for it?
like
You could do a very quick cut sections out, yeah. And just if you want one little clip, you can just.
Yeah, I also have the software.
All right, yeah.
Software.
Yeah.